Hello guys and welcome to Hello Python programming tutorial series. My name is Glennie Noy Anum and this is basically an intro into Python to get a fair underline of what Python is, from actually the basics to actually doing a lot of programming. So there's going to be a few tools we're going to download along, which I'm not going to do in this video. We're just going to go straight into Python and actually get to understand Python. So we're going to do a separate video to be able to download the tools which you need to follow along if you want to for this series. Okay, so first of all, a lot of people ask, what is Python? It's not an animal, it's not the animal, no. Python is a programming language. Now, according to its creator, Guido van Rossum, Python is a high-level programming language and its core design philosophy is all about code readability and a syntax which allows programmers to express concepts in a few lines of code. That's very beautiful. It's very expressive, and that's what Python is really all about. For me, Python is also very expressive, and I can really say a lot with few number of codes compared to other languages. Yeah, and we have two versions of Python. We have Python 3, which is the current version under active development. Python 2 is the legacy version which received security updates until this year. No new features will be implemented for it, right? So we'd say, okay, so why are you starting with Python? Why don't we do Java? Why don't you do C++? They are very good programming language, I won't lie. But machine learning really, I said machine learning, Python really shines in web development, machine learning, and data science, which we will go to after this Hello Python series. A lot of people that have actually a lot of companies that have actually used Python. It's Quora. If anyone knows Quora, yeah, Quora websites. They did use Python to develop their websites. Spotify. They also used Python for their back-end web development. So you can see that Python is really good and it's really working well for them. So if someone doesn't want to wait for the other video to download the tools and you just want to download the tools right now, here is the URL link to Anaconda Navigator, which is what we are going to be using throughout the series to work. Then if you want to, just use this link right on top there. Yeah, you can pause the video right now, download it, install it, and then we can get going. So when you do all of that, you'll get to this page right here. So this is the interface of Anaconda Navigator. It gives us a lot of on-the-go packages: PyCharm, Spider, VS Code, Qt Lite, and where you see the launch button, normally when you do open it, you don't really have the packages yet, so there'll be an install button where the launch button is. Please do install them so we can get to use them. When you do that, then we can actually get going. So when you do open the Qt console, which we'll be using, which is right here, Qt console is written there. Sorry, you can't see the head. But then when you do launch it, this is what you get, right? So this is called an enhanced interactive Python. This means that whatever you put in, you can actually get an output. It's more of a console way of communication with Python. And then later on, we're going to use that. We're going to look at Jupyter. Jupyter is a more graphical user interface. It's a more structured, more way of beautifying your code, if I should say in a way. But I want to start with the Qt console for today to really get a basic understanding. So when we go into Jupyter, we can really see how it really works and interfaces with it. Okay, so let's begin. So when you're in your Qt Lite console, we are basically looking at input output. So input output objects. So what are input output objects? These are basically, you can see the in. So whatever I put in, I'm expecting that it should give me an output based on its understanding of what I'm inputting. So let's start with something simple like print. So we can just type in print hello Python, then hit enter. We get an output. Hello Python. That's your output. So when you put something in, you expect an output, right? If it's garbage in, garbage out. Those doing computer science or programming actually know that. So if you put something that the console can understand, you'll actually get a valid output. Okay, so let's also look at a neat trick without actually typing the print whatever. How can we just say hello world in Python? This is a neat trick. We can say import. Sorry. Double underscore. Hello. Double underscore again. Then when we click enter, we get hello world. This is automatic. This is imported. It's built in, and that's quite nice. Another thing I'll actually like you to actually see is another import. If I can remember, okay. Import this. Okay, let's see if this works. Alright, so this is another import which is also built into Python, and this is very beautiful. This is the Zen Python by Tim Peters, and it's like a beautiful description of Python in like a poetic sense, and I really love it, and it was something very beautiful. I wanted you guys also see it and have a feel of it for yourself. Read it and understand it. Whatever you don't understand, or whatever you're able to interpret from it, let us know. That's also just a neat trick. Alright, so then let's move on. Now we're doing imports. What are imports? Imports are built-in packages, like I said. They're already into Python, so we're just calling it and we're using the functionalities. What are the functionalities? Okay, when we look at something like, when we go into an area of mathematics, we can do calculation for cos, sine, and so these packages are really predefined, so we don't have to explicitly write function for cos, sin, and tan, how to calculate cos, sine, and tan, so it's really nice, and this is what really makes Python also very enhanced and very up there. So let's try using one. So like we talked about math, so let's import math. It is built in. If I can type import, import math, and then we hit enter, and then that runs. No error, so it means we're actually working. We didn't get an output here because we are just importing. It means we are just loading a package in. We're not actually asking it to do something. So that's why we're not getting an output here. But it's actually working because we didn't hit an error. So let's use it. So there's some things we call methods. Methods are how we're able to extract what is inside the packages. Like I said, math, we can do sine. Okay, let's just do that. So math dot means we're entering into the math package. Then we say sine, open bracket, and then we just put in a value, say 3, hit enter, and then we get an output. Anyone having a calculator, or you can do this by your head, when you do calculate it, and you should get the same output. But right now you're seeing output. It means you've actually inputted something, and now we're really getting an output. Now math.sine, and put in a bracket. Let me just tell you what that means. Math is what we've imported, so that's a package. The package holds a lot of what? Mathematical principles which have been built into it. So all we are doing is calling that function, which is the sine function, which we know is already built in, and then we're putting in a value, and it just gives us an output. Bam, and we're going. That's how beautiful it is. And we get to use a lot of that as we move on. Yeah, so let's move on. We can also do it for cos, so we can say math.cos, open bracket, and again we're going to use the same value of 3. Spot everything right. Yeah, we get an output again. Yeah, so now we talk about input output values now. And what were we saying? When we put in something, we expect an output, right? So it's actually meaning that it's actually storing all these values in it. How do we express that? Okay, let's try something. Let's try something. Print in. Now when I say print in, I'm expecting this to print out all the previous inputs, if I should say. So let's try this. Okay, So this is giving us everything we've put in. From the beginning, our first statement was what? Print hello Python. Let's confirm that. There we go. Print hello Python, which was the first in. The second in was what? Import. And then the third one was what? Import this. Okay, let's see if we have it down there. Import hello and import this. Import math, import sign, import course, and print. That's basically everything. That is really nice and it's really neat to look at. So you can see that it's really storing everything in its memory. So we can actually go into it and actually extract it and actually look at it. So you're like, what did I use before? Okay, let's just do this, and then it prints everything out. And that's really nice and it's really neat. I really like that. We can also do the same for the out, basically. Press enter and we get our values for the output. So there we go. So it's only giving us the outputs from 5. From 5 here, then from 6. Remember, I told you that this doesn't really, it just stores it in, it doesn't really give an output, so we are not going to get anything out from this one. But then we see the second one coming out, and we see the third one coming out. So we see this, the outputs, and we see that coming out. Now that's very nice. That's also another neat one. And we can actually, if we don't want all of it, we actually know where it is in terms of the numbering. As you can see, in has a number 4, and its output, its corresponding output should also be 4, but because this one doesn't have, so we just move on to in 5. You see the output is 5. We see in 6, the output is 6, right? So let's try something. Let's say I want to get the hello world we got from the beginning, the hello Python, sorry, we got from the beginning. So I would say then I'll just put in the value of 1, but I think 1 is actually empty, so we should use 2. Okay, let's check this out. So when we hit enter, yep, I get the first index, which was hello Python, and we actually right? That's also nice. So let's go back to import math and let's see what more we can actually do. I'll take it in again, import. If I type it correctly this time, import math. Enter. Then we're going to do something called variable assignment. Today we're just basically looking at how nice it is to use the console and what we can actually do with it. Then when we go, then the next video we actually look at variables and we actually explain what it is into depth. So right now just get a basic understanding of how nice it is to use the console and how good it is. Then from there we move on to more understanding. So calling a variable math1. If you don't understand, don't worry. We'll get into it in the next video. But just try to understand. Okay, math equals math dot sign. Remember what I said, we're calling the function from here, but we're just placing it in a variable. That shouldn't be too difficult to understand, I hope. Then 2 plus math.call to, the first time we used 3, right? So this time we're just using 2. Get into the print math and we should get an answer. So what we're basically saying is that when you do this operation on 2, when you call the function and you find the sign of 2, add it to the cos of 2, which we are calling from the import from our math function, right? From our math import, sorry. Then we're saying print math. What are we printing? We're printing this right here. This is the variable name. Like I said, we'll get into the next video. This is the variable name. So we're printing whatever is stored in here. So when we hit enter, we should get an output. So that's an output. So if you have your calculator, you can also do this operation and then see if you get the same output. Now there's also something nice I want us to look at. We call this suppressing output. Yeah? Now what do you mean by suppressing output? This means that the command you're executing produces a result that you'd prefer not likely to store in your output history. So pretty much I wouldn't want to see this. I just want to know whether a Boolean structure, whether it's actually true or false. Yeah? So the easiest way to suppress the output of a command is to add a semicolon to the end of the line. What do we mean by that? Okay, let's do this. We're going to use the previous method we used here, so I'm just going to copy that and paste. Sorry. That's my copy and paste. Okay. No, okay. Let me just type it out. So math sign open brackets 2 plus math.cause open brackets 2. Yeah. I hope that's right. With a semicolon. Remember. What was it again? What do we mean by suppressing outputs? Let's understand it again. The command you're executing produces a result that you'd prefer not likely to store your output history. Remember when we did that and we printed it, we got an output history. I wouldn't want to see this. I would actually want to see whether it is true or false. Maybe I want to check, is there something in this? Yes, no. Without actually seeing the actual value. So when we put in a semicolon, we hit enter, it takes us down to the next line. Wait. We hit an error. Float object has no attribute sign. Okay. What is my error? You know, you're just working and then something just bites you. Ooh. But how come it worked here and I'm able to print out? But just now it's not. That's interesting. That is something I'll have to look at. Okay. Hopefully I'll debug that and then we'll get to it. Okay, I just want to try something. Let me see if we can go back to this previous command and actually print that. Let's see. Still giving me the same error. Why? Can I clear everything? Yes, I can. Okay, so I don't know why that's giving me that error, but we'll go back and look at that. We're just trying to understand how the Qt console works, but we will get back to that. So the next thing I want us to look at is actually the helper function. What's the helper function? The helper function is a built-in function of Python that really gives you an explanatory of what you're actually looking at. So you know, in programming we have something we call the length of something. Let's say print then hit enter, type error, and takes in exactly one argument given 4. Sorry, immaturity skills popping up. Okay, anyway, let's say print, let's say age is equals to 1, comma 2, comma 3, comma 5. Hit enter. Okay, so that has stored these values into age. So now let's use the length function we're talking about earlier on. So I'll just go back to that, go in there, take out all these values because we've now stored them in age, right? So I'll just call it here, age. Hopefully this should work. And we see 5. If we count it, how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's actually giving us the length of how many variables, how many values in age, right? So if we didn't know that and really wanting to understand what the length function is all about, I would say something like help. Then what is length all about? Then okay, what does it say? Help on built-in function. Len is a module built in. Length object returns the number of items in a container. So instead of having errors and going to like Google to actually find out what is length and everything, you can just actually use the help function and to tell you a lot of things. Maybe you want to see things about directories. You can also say help. In directory, we use dir. Anyone that knows command prompt, Windows, I don't know about Linux, I'm not familiar with that, but on Windows, dir is basically your directory. So if you're familiar with that, that shouldn't really be difficult to understand. Hit enter, and dir. It's also a built-in function. So you can actually go ahead and read that. I'm not really going to get into that. If you're following along, you'd really read into that. And if you don't really know what you just want to check everything that help can actually offer you. You don't really know anything specific about help and you want to know what help can really offer you. The next thing I'd like you to do is to actually use the help and just put this there. And what it does, it gives you everything you need. What does it say? Welcome to Python 3.7 help utility. If this is your first time using Python, you should definitely check out the tutorial from this link, which you should. Enter the name of any module, keyword, or topic to get help from. And when you're done, just hit quit. So actually, I'm in help. I really want to look into a lot of things that help has to offer. What we can actually do is I can check for OS, which is our system OS, which you also get to look at in later videos. And it brings out everything about OS and the module OS. So you can actually get to read and understand what it is and how we can use it and what's going on. You know? So yeah, basically that's our intro to Python and Qt console. Next we're going to be looking at variables and actually understand what Python is. So this is the nuts and crust of Python we're actually going into now. So stay tuned and I hope you're going to enjoy the series with me.